Okay, the glory of his allotment. This is the article that I'm going to start to share this week. The second great prayer request in Ephesians 1:15 through 19 is that God might give us a spirit of wisdom in perceiving the riches of the glory of the enjoyment of his allotment among the saints. Ephesians 1:18. The joint enjoyment of the allotment among the celestials is such a tremendously transcendent truth that no one is able to receive it without a special spiritual endowment. It certainly calls for prayer. It calls for prayer today. Now that we have discovered our own distinct destiny and the unparalleled favor which it involves, let us join the apostle in his prayer for all the saints who belong to his body. The riches of the glory. The riches of the glory of the enjoyment of his allotment. What a wealth of words are needed to indicate the blessedness of our celestial apportionment. Israel was allotted the land, but their tenancy has been spasmodic and temporary, with intervals of banishment from its blessings. In fact, their deportations have lasted longer than their tenancies, and their persecutions among the nations have outweighed their blessings in the land. Even while there, they seldom experienced the riches and the glory of the days of David and Solomon. Yet they will have a millennium under the rule of Messiah, which will far outshine their past experiences. The reason why the past has been so variable and unsatisfactory lies in the fact that their allotment was not in the proper person. In the future, it will be in their Messiah. He will share his blessed portion with them. It is not easy for us to realize and enjoy the riches of our allotment among the celestials, for that is a sphere of which our knowledge is very scant. Indeed, our own little lifespan and the limited range of our past activities form no foundation on which to base an estimate of the wealth of glory which inheres in our celestial allotment. We must turn away to him in whom our lot is cast, Ephesians 1:11, and consider his glories on earth and in heaven in order to get even a glimpse of our own in him. Even then, we must consider his earthly honors first, in order to grasp the sublime supremacy which is his among the celestials. Parallels with Israel. To a large extent, the spiritual blessings of Israel on earth are paralleled by the portion of the ecclesia in the heavens. The scriptures are studded with details dealing with the future of the holy nation. Yet very little is revealed concerning our expectation. But if we look at both from the divine side, we will be overwhelmed with the wealth and overpowered with the prospect of that which lies ahead of us. Indeed, though the destiny of the ecclesia, which is his body, may run along the same lines among the celestials as that predicted by the prophets for Israel on the earth, it will be on a much loftier level and on a greatly grander scale. God's prime purpose with both Israel and the ecclesia is to reveal himself to the balance of creation, so that he may become all in all. 1 Corinthians 15:28. Let us never lose sight of this. It will keep us from many a devious detour, and give us a star by which to steer straight to his grand goal. This will be accomplished along two main lines, rule and religion. He uses the word religion in here, but divine religion, I would say divine worship, rather than religion, will be in that millennium, the next 1,000 years coming, in correcting and regulating the relationships of his creatures to one another, and in leading them to worship God under their Messiah. Israel will not only be governed by him, but they will be used by him to rule the rest of the nations. Moreover, he will not only lead them in the worship of Yahweh, but they will bring the other nations to bow the knee to God. He will be their king and priest, so they will be a royal priesthood set over the millennium earth. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. So the royal priesthood will be that Melchizedek priesthood coming up in the 1,000 years. The millennial glories of Christ are revealed on many a page of Holy Writ, but his highest honors, his sublimest supremacy, was concealed from mortal gaze until the revelation of the present secret administration of God's grace. His headships in Israel and over all the earth were gradually revealed, along with the future glories of the holy nation. Now that the riches of the glory of our allotment among the celestials must be made known, it became necessary first to disclose his heavenly headship, which, combined with that over all the earth, makes him universally supreme. All is to be headed up in the Christ, both that in the heavens and that on the earth, in him our lot was cast. Ephesians 1:10 and 11. Associated with his celestial headship, our allotment is immeasurably grander and more glorious than anything that earth has ever known. In our present mortal earthbound conditions, it is almost impossible for many of us to visualize an allotment that does not consist of a part of the earth's surface, including a shelter from the elements and food for our bodies and means of satisfaction for our souls. In heaven, of course, this would not be a mean hovel, but a mansion, not merely food to exist, but feasting for pleasure. And something of this nature will be included in Israel's allotment. They will have comfortable homes in the land, with an abundance of grains and fruits and wine to satiate their souls. And on the new earth, they will enjoy the glories of the new Jerusalem. That'll come down from that realm, celestial realm. It's already prepared, I believe, and will come down on that new earth. But no such allotment lies before us. For humans on the earth, it does bring happiness to have all that satiates the soul or the senses. But even they will have a higher source of joy. It is happiness to give rather than to get. Spiritual satisfaction is superior to soulish sensations. After all, Israel's chief pleasure will be based on blessing the other nations. Their principal export will not be oranges and chemicals from the Dead Sea, but the law of Yahweh. Even during their deportation, their most prized possession, the Hebrew Bible, has brought untold spiritual wealth to the other nations. In the future, they will spread the knowledge of Yahweh over the whole earth. This will not only be the greatest possible boon to the others, but the highest height of their own happiness. Our powerful, spiritual, immortal, glorious bodies will be immeasurably superior to their earthbound soulish frames, and will require no local habitation or material sustenance. We will not need to make provision for our flesh. The universe is our mansion, and the all-pervading spirit of the deity the source of our sustenance. We will not need to be concerned with our own provisions, but will be able to devote ourselves unhampered to the welfare of others. This is the supreme source of the highest happiness. God himself finds his greatest joy in blessing his creatures of his heart. He will accomplish this through his Christ, in whom we have our allotment. In anticipation, this can be a spring of purest joy to us now, if we conform to these principles. Let us seek not only to be a blessing to others, but to impart spiritual values rather than material necessities. At present, we cannot refuse physical aid to the infirm and famished, for even this brings its blessing. Yet greater still is our joy to share our spiritual riches with the saints of other nations, even in the remote regions of the earth. Okay, so tomorrow we'll get into Christ's headship. So, grace and peace. Have a beautiful Monday. We will see you tomorrow.